What's going on, everybody? This is your boy King Gabe here, and we got a very, very special guest here. It's a, but very matter of fact, it's a personally known the father of our Miracle Crew member, Casey Hennigan. We got Mr. Bruce Hennigan.
Thank you for having me. Yes.
All right. Let's just say he is an author just like I am there. He's got quite a long list of books there. Yeah, which he's going to be featuring at Geek Con.
That's right.
Coming up
Geek Con this year, so
that's why we're making this video, so you guys can get a little insight on that and be like, hey, let me come in and check this guy out.
Absolutely, come see me. I'd love to talk to you.
Oh yes. So first question got for you: when did you start writing?
Well, you know, I started writing probably when I was 10 or 11. Really, I grew up on a farm in Blanchard, Louisiana. I was the only kid in 62 acres of farmland and woods, so I had to create my own imagination. So I went out into the woods and I would play and I'd create all these stories in my head. And so when I was about 10 or 11, I just started writing them down. And I read a book called The Tunnel in the Sky by Robert Heinlein.
Oh, really?
Famous science fiction book. Fell in love with science fiction. So that's when I started writing. Of course, you know, 10-year-old kid, you can't get published. So I kept writing, and then when I got into high school, my English class in the 9th grade, my teacher had a creative writing class right at the end of the year. And we were writing all these short stories, and she would write in big red letters at the top of my paper, publish this, publish this. And I went, that's it, I'm going to get published. So all through high school, I learned how to type. I started writing science fiction short stories, never got published, never. But I wrote, you know, 4 years while I was in high school, I tried to get published. And then in my senior year in high school, I wrote a poem that I submitted to the state contest, and I won first place in the state of Louisiana. That was my first published work.
Okay.
So that's when I really started writing in earnest, was when I was out of high school and into college. So.
So as y'all hear, pretty much not too different from me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Starting out and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good that's a good advice from the teacher there.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. She
She encouraged me, and that's what I would say. Anybody, if you love to write, like Gabe, just please write. Don't let people discourage you. Don't let people get you down. Just keep on plugging along and write. Write your stories.
Yeah, and then like the more you write it, even if you don't start off getting published, the more you keep writing,
The more you learn.
mm-hmm. and then
Get better and better at it. Yeah.
right, and you get the attention of the people that will like, hey, this is pretty good stuff.
That's right. Build your audience.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So what? I guess you may have said this in the first question, but what inspired you to start writing books?
My real inspiration was my mom and dad.
Okay.
My mother and daddy got married in 1935 in the middle of the Great Depression. They lived on a farm and liked to starve to death. And then in 1941, they moved to Shreveport right at the beginning of World War II. And when I was a child, we would go back down to Saline, which is a little town south of Shreveport. And we would sit around with all of their brothers and sisters, my aunts and uncles, and they would tell stories while they would be shelling peas or shucking corn. They would tell stories about growing up during the Depression, stories during World War II, and they just fascinated me, these stories. They would say, Bruce, go outside and play, go out. And I would sit around the corner from the living room where they couldn't see me and listen to all their stories. And that inspired me to make up my own stories. And so that was a big inspiration. And like I said, my first book I ever read was a science fiction book. That inspired me. That was in the age of what I call the golden age of science fiction on television, like Star Trek and Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea and Lost in Space and all these wonderful, you know, Outer Limits, Twilight Zone. I watched all those shows, and I wanted to write stories that would end up on that television screen or up on the movie screen. That inspired me to start running.
I definitely remember Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, so going into your books, give our viewers just a brief summary of Hope Again. That's the just letting you guys know I think that's the first book that I got from you there.
Yeah.
Was Hope Again.
Yeah, this book, I'll show the book, is actually the 3rd edition. So what happened is when I got out of medical school and started my medical practice, got married, started having kids. I really wanted to write, but I said nothing was happening. I couldn't get published. So I said, Lord, what do you want me to do? I prayed about it, and he said, I want you to work with Brookwood Baptist Church and write drama. So for 15 years, all I wrote were plays for the church.
Okay.
Well, during that time, I went through a really bad depression. I mean, horrible depression with a lot of different factors involved. And I developed some little tools. I call them light filters. This is a copy of my light filters. They were not this nice. They were handwritten, and they just had a Bible verse on one side, and they had a little thought for the day, questions to help me get through the day. My pastor saw that. He said, what is that? And I told him, and he said, I suffer from depression too. And I said, well, you know, there's not any good books for Christians on depression. He said, well, let's write a book. So we sat down and we wrote a book called Conquering Depression, and met with the chief editor, Robin Holman, big publisher. He was one of Mark's friends. My pastor, Mark Sutton, was one of his friends. We just met with him at lunch in Nashville and said, will you look at our book proposal and see if maybe you can help us? We know you're not going to be interested in this. He picked it up and he looked at the title, and it was Conquering Depression. At that time, he said, I'll take it. We said, what? I'll take it. So Robin Holman published our first book called Conquering Depression in 2001, and then 2014 they did the 2nd edition called Hope Again, and then 2019 I took the rights back because I have my own little publishing company, and we did this 3rd edition called Hope Again, and it is a book to help people with depression. So this was my first really published book. I had a set of plays, children's plays, that were published before this, but this is really my first book right here. And this book has been around for 25 years. I haven't made a whole lot of money off of it, but it's helped a lot of people. And that was the whole reason for writing that book, is people find that it helps them with their depression. We get emails from people who said it saved my life. So that started my actual publishing career. That book, even though I wanted to write science fiction, my first book of all things was on depression. You know, so.
Yes, they say sometimes you have to start with one particular outside of what you got in order to get to that point. Yeah. And sometimes it do be like this.
That's right. That's what the Lord wanted me to do. So that's the way it worked out.
And I tell you a little, that also kind of makes me think of something that that Eda has told us about, like with him and his plays. He branches out to different kinds of things. Like, there's certain things that he'll take, but he tries to do a variety of different things to get something that sticks there.
Right.
That's,
absolutely.
So it's and then also it's good to sort of be multiversal there.
Exactly. But this made a great foundation for me to begin to work from to do my fiction, which is what I'm working on. You know, mostly now for the last probably 20 years. So.
All right. That's good, because I know that's like I said again, that was the first book that I got from both me and Christina had read it there.
Yep, it came to my book sign.
Yep. So also okay, I hope again. What say also now about your Jonathan Steele series,
yes,
the 13 Demon and all that.
That's right.
Like a brief summary about that, as well as the inspiration behind that series.
Yeah, after we did Hope Again, I said I want to write fiction, and I'm going to tell you, I worked for 6 weeks trying. I had several different novels that I was working on. Nothing was working, and I just prayed about it. And I went to bed one night, and my goal was to start writing that novel August the 1st. So July 31st, I went to bed, woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning with this story in my head. And I sat down and started writing, and by noon I had written 16 chapters. And by the end of August I had written the first book called The 13th Demon and the Chronicles of Jonathan Steele. And that book was based on spiritual warfare, on a man who has no memory, but he has skills like an assassin or mercenary, and he loses someone to a serial killer who claims to be working with the 13th demon, whatever that is. So he makes it his life journey to track down this 13th demon and destroy it. And that's the beginning of his story, as he goes from, finds people who feel like there's evil in their life, and he tries to find out it's just the 13th demon, and he keeps moving on. And in the first book, there's a church in a small town that's been taken over by an evil spirit, and he discovers it's the 13th demon. And that's the beginning of his story. And then he finds out there's 12 more demons. That's why this thing's called the 13th demon. So there's a whole council called the Council of Darkness of 12 individuals who are working with the 12 most powerful demons to carry out the plans of Satan. And so Jonathan Steele finds out at the end of the 13th demon, he now has a job. He's a reluctant draftee in spiritual warfare. He has to take down each one of the 12 demons, take them off the board. So that's where all the rest of the books come from.
I can kind of see a TV series.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, you got that whole MacGuffin type of.
That's right. That's right.
You know, big on this quest.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I could definitely Jonathan Steele TV series.
And so I just finished the last book in the series called The First Demon, and I can show you some of the books in the series when you get ready for me too. But I can do that later. But
it's sort of so he's sort of taking the demons on backwards.
Yeah, that's it. It's counting them down from 13 to 1. And so what I've done is the first two books were called The 13th Demon and The 12th Demon. And they were published by a traditional publisher called Strain Communication, which is now called Charisma Media. So I had a 5-book deal with them to do the whole series. Well, they went out of business. They had a Realms, it was called Realms imprint for these kind of books, scary books based in the Christian worldview. They had 8 authors. Nobody was buying their books because they didn't know how to market it. And so they let me go after the second book. So I have renamed them and re-edited them. So this is now called Demon 13 is the first book.
Okay.
And on here is a knife that is used in Aztec human sacrifice. So there's a background story about human sacrifices in the Aztec and Mayan and Incan empires for that one. And then the second book is now called Demon 12. It was the 12th demon. This is about vampires. It's all about the history of vampires. Where did the idea, the myth of vampires come from? And the 12th demon is trying to use what's called the symbol of the wolf dragon, and he is trying to form an army of vampires. So Jonathan Steele ends up in Transylvania trying to stop the 12th demon. And then the 11th demon is now called Demon 11. This book is about, it's kind of about secret societies and conspiracy theories, and the 11th demon is looking for an ark. It's called the Ark of the Demon Rose that contains something. We don't know what it contains. You have to read the book to find out. And so Jonathan Steele has to stop the 11th demon. There's a plot to assassinate a very prominent political figure to change the government. And so he has to stop the 11th demon. And the 10th demon is called Children of the Bloodstone. This is about UFOs and extraterrestrials. And it's about the 10th demon is trying to build a space station and open a portal to another world. So it's a very heavily science fiction, and it goes all into the information about UFOs and extraterrestrials. And that's the 10th demon. Then the next book, I'll just count down real quick. The 9th demon is called Time of the Cross. It is actually a time travel story.
Oh.
So it's about a billionaire who puts together a team to make a movie about the last week of Jesus' life. Or does he? is it a fake or is it real? That's what you have to find out.
Oh, okay.
So Jonathan Steele ends up going back in time to save his friends and his family, and stopping the ninth demon who wants to change history. Then the eighth demon is about virtual reality. It's about a demon who has created a virtual interface that will take you into her world called numinosity, and she wants to take over people's minds. And so Jonathan Steele and his adopted son Joshua Knight, as a teenager, have to go into the virtual reality world of numinosity and stop the eighth demon. So that one's about virtual reality. Then the next book, this book is now called Pandora's Settlement. It was originally 2 books, and I wrote it during COVID. So I merged the 2 books together, books 7 and 8. And this is Joshua Knight, who is the teenage son of Jonathan Steele. He ends up being infected with a virus. And the 7th demon says, I will only cure your son if you do these 3 things for the 7th, 6th, and 5th demon. So Jonathan Steele has to do these horrible things to save his son. And then the next book is called The 4th Demon. So that has 3 demons in it. 4th demon, the trial of the 3rd demon, has 2 demons in it. In this book, Jonathan Steele is arrested for murder. And as I said, he has amnesia. He knows nothing about his past. This book, he recovers his past. He finds out when he was a teenager, he was possessed by the 3rd demon. And so he finds out all about his backstory and has to stop the 3rd and the 4th demon. Then, 2nd demon is the next to the last book. There's a person who surfaces in this book that's been in the background through all the books, and he kidnaps Jonathan Steele because there's a special memory he wants to extract from his mind. And there's an object called the Grim Box. The Grim Box is the repository of all demon deeds. So it's the history of all demons throughout time. And so Jonathan Steele has to go into here and figure out how to stop this person from taking this memory from him. And that sets up the stage for the last book. The last book is called First Demon, Imago Diaboli, or the Image of Satan. And in this book, Jonathan Steele has to finally face off against the most powerful demon on the council and stop his plans, which are, I won't give them away, but all of these books have backstories that all come together in this book. And it has a very redemptive, happy ending. So if you read all the books and get to this one, I promise you'll be happy at the end of it. So that's it. 11 books. And then this book, very quickly, this book called Death by Darwin is a book I wrote after like the 12th demon. It's a totally different story about Ruth Martinez, who's an attorney, and she has to defend somebody who is accused of murdering his boss with a dinosaur bone. And Jonathan Steele is introduced as a private investigator. So this is a prequel to the Demon 13. So this is where you first meet Jonathan Steele. I went back and wrote this to kind of fill in his backstory. You meet him in this book, and it's kind of a medical thriller, a legal thriller and a murder mystery all wrapped into one. He's not the main character. So. Okay, that's a wrap. 12 books. 12 books as quickly as I can get through.
I'm definitely seeing like a series going on like there. Definitely, and then I tell you, the way you describe it kind of makes me think of remember the Left Behind series?
Oh, yeah.
Kind of makes me think of those.
That was the Left Behind series kind of inspired me when it came out. These books, my inspiration is Michael Crichton, who wrote Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah.
So he took who had ever heard of chaos theory, or genetic engineering? But he took those 2 ideas and he built a story about dinosaurs. So everybody read the book. So each one of these books has some kind of subject matter, because I'm a Christian apologist, which is someone who defends the Christian faith. I've taken some scientific and historical and philosophical ideas and built stories around it. So when you read my book, you're going to learn something about the world or history or science. And again, everything is set in what I call a Christian worldview, but they're not preaching. They don't hit you over the head with the Bible, but they have inspirational elements to it. They're very clean. No gratuitous violence or sex or cursing is in the books. Anybody 14 years and over can read these books.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that definitely, definitely clears that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, mature, in for mature.
That's right, in for mature.
Yeah.
At least PG-13.
Yeah, we'll go with that one.
Yeah. If they ever made a movie.
Yeah, that would be quite. That might be the. I guess if MCU comes to an end, this might pick up to be the next one. Yeah. So and I know you got just another book. I know you got Homecoming Tree.
Yes, Homecoming Tree is. This book is based on my mother and daddy's life during World War II, and like I said, I wrote a lot of drama. I wrote a play called Homecoming Tree. The play we did it at Brookwood Baptist Church in 2005. And it's about a family in Shreveport, Louisiana between Thanksgiving and Christmas 1941. And the premise is a young boy and his father are very close. His father goes to Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor's attacked. They can't get in touch with the dad. Is he dead? Is he alive? And so the dad had planted a tree in the forest on the day his son was born. And said, when you're old enough to cut this tree down and bring it back to the house to be the Christmas tree, that's the day you start your journey into manhood. So he realizes his dad may not be coming home for Christmas, so he goes and cuts down the tree. And he brings it to the house, and they decorate it, and they call it the Homecoming Tree. And with a prayer that Dad will come home for Christmas. So I turned it into a novel, and I took a modern-day businessman in 2001, who is the old man who was the little boy in the play, owns this big business, and so his partner, this young man, has done a hostile takeover. He's taken over the business. He's about to leave his family. He had an affair with the secretary on Thanksgiving Day, and the old man confronts him, and they are in a park across the street from the office building. They both get mugged, and when the young man wakes up, he has no memory, and he's in 1941. And he's taken in by the family, the 13-year-old boy who's the old man. He's taken in by his family. And so he lives out the whole play, so to speak, the story. And along the way he learns about the greatest generation, what sacrifice is like, what true family values are like. And he begins to change as he begins to remember who he is. He realizes he doesn't want to leave his family. And I won't tell you how it ends. A lot of people like the old movie It's a Wonderful Life. This book has that vibe. I have people who literally read this every Christmas. It says that's how we start our Christmas, as we read the Homecoming Tree. So totally different from those books. Has nothing to do with demons or spiritual warfare. It's just a good, feel-good book about my mom and dad's generation. So
sort of like standalone.
Yeah, standalone.
Yeah, but and then you mentioned Wonderful Life. Exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's it. It has that kind of feel to it. So.
Yeah. But that's final two questions.
Okay.
Okay, so in all of this, what would be your favorite thing about just writing the books in general?
I just love the process of creating the stories, creating the characters. I'm working on the next series after Jonathan Steele is called The Note of God, and it's science fiction. And there are characters in this series that end up in that book, and I have to build a whole world because it takes place on another planet. So just that process of building the characters and build the world building and telling the story. And I'm sure you've discovered this, once you start a story, it almost tells itself. Once you set up the parameters, it starts moving in the direction that's true to the story. Not that it writes itself, but it pulls you into the direction that you're writing. And I just love the writing process. But like with Hope Again, I love meeting people whose lives have been touched by anything the Lord inspired me to write. It touches their life, it makes their life better. That to me is the ultimate goal. If anything I write makes somebody's life better, I'm happy. It's worth every blood, sweat, and tears over that word processor or something.
kind of makes me, and then like you say, pull into the story, kind of makes me think of what I was actually told. Somebody once asked me, are you truly writing the books, or are these characters in the books telling you what to write?
That's right.
They kind of, you feel like sometimes you're kind of directing from the characters.
Right. I mean, to me, when you create good characters, then they define your story, because you have to stay true to your character. You can't force your character to do something that isn't true to their nature. And so as you're writing the story, you go, well, yeah, Jonathan Steele wouldn't do that, but he could do this, so I'm going to have to go this direction. And so many times when you create the good characters, they can drive the direction of your story. And I've had, when I wrote the 13th and 12th Demon, my publisher made me shorten the word count. And that was one of my frustrations with traditional publishing. And so my first book, The 13th Demon, I had to take an entire character out to get the word count down. And it just killed me, because that character was pivotal to the story. So when I took over my own books after the 11th Demon, which is now Demon 11, I brought that character back in the last 3 or 4 books. So I said, okay, you're not dead. I'm going to bring you back to life and put you in the story and let you tell your story. So good characters never go away. They're there in the background saying, hey, put me in your story. I want to do something. Kind of like a Woody stuck in the toy box,
Oh, yeah. That's Toy Story.
I want to come to life. I got things to do. So.
Yep, that's definitely after having that question. That's definitely even what I've experienced.
Oh yeah.
Well, what other advice would you give any other authors that writing their books?
Oh yeah. So, and I've given lots of talks about this and written. I would say number 1 is hone your writing skills. You've got to make a decision if you want to be traditionally published or if you want to publish on your own. Nowadays, most everybody publishes on their own. If you go through a traditional publisher, you've got to give them the manuscript, and they can look at that manuscript in about 3 or 4 paragraphs and know if you have your basic writing skills. So early on when I was trying to get published, I took several online courses. And I was amazed at, oh my gosh, making these little simple mistakes. No wonder an editor's looking at that going, this guy's a rank amateur. So, and the way you can do that, there's online courses you can do that. I belong to American Christian Fiction Writers, which is a national organization, acfw.org. And they have a lot of courses online and webinars that teach you basic writing skills. And a book that really did me a lot of good is called Self-Editing for Fiction Writers. That's the name of the book. And it's by an author named Elizabeth Brown, B-R-W-N-E. And that book, if you read through that book and take the exercises, you will learn 90% of what you needed to learn to be a published author, whether you publish on your own or do traditional publishing. So I would say get your writing skills, do your basic writing skills, and then you got to learn about the trade. You just need to learn, and there's a great site called The Creative Pen, P-E-N-N, thecreativepen.com. I discovered this site. Joanna Penn is a Christian author, and she has put together a website that has every resource you need to be a successful writer. It's all free. All kinds of, she has told you which websites you can go to, how to build your social media, how to edit a book, how to get the covers designed. All of her stuff is there, and you're going to flounder around on the internet trying to figure out how to get published. That's a good place to start, either acfw.org or at thecreativepen.com. So my recommendation is go to those websites and learn the basics about the industry. How do you get published? How do you market? How do you use social media? How do you edit a book? How do you get a design? How do you make your design, whether it's for ebooks or printed books, attractive to people? How do you make yourself rise above everybody else? How do you get in there? And I would suggest this, write. Go to every website you like, make comments, and make those comments as beautiful as you can write them. Put your writing out there for people to read. Start building followers, building an audience. That's how I got all of this started. That would be my final advice, is to get out there and get on the internet and start a blog, start a website, and just start writing. People want to know you. They want to know me. They love the books, but they want to know your story. They want to know my story. And when they're interested in our stories, then they'll pick up and read the stories that we've written. So they like your website and all that you do, these videos. People have gotten to know you. You know, you've got a following. They know who you are. They know who Christina is. They know your books. They know what you like. And that's the key to being successful with all of this. Is build your following. Let people know who you are.
Put yourself out.
Put yourself out there. Don't be afraid. Be yourself. Yeah.
Yep. That's what.
And I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
So proud of everything you've done, man. I watched him grow up with my daughter. Okay. So proud of him.
And you know, and saying that, you know, because I've mentioned this to Christina, you know, after being around you guys growing up and stuff, kind of feel it's almost like y'all my second family.
Oh, that's right. Y'all a family. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, that definitely that's like
yeah, because I've known you since Casey met you in middle school, so
pretty much like a brother and a sister.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Say, look, especially back in summer school. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. In summer school. Yeah.
Yeah. But, that's like I say, I definitely that's definitely a lot. I hope you guys watch it. Definitely enjoyed what y'all heard. You probably get even more writers out there.
Yeah, if you come, like I said, I'll be at Geek Con. I'm on the second floor. I picked that on purpose because it's quieter up there. Because I want to talk to people. So come by. I'll have all my books, and got any questions, anything you want to learn about writing, I'll do what I can to help.
Be writing.
Give you some pro tips.
The convention center in downtown Shreveport.
That's right.
Yeah. Even if you're not in the Shreveport area, make
it's a lot of
make
fun.
some plans to come out this way.
It's a great fun for you and your family, for kids, for adults, everything. It's just so much fun.
Oh yeah.
My son Sean and my 3 grandchildren will be there on Saturday, so
okay.
The whole family will be there.
Yeah, definitely bring your family. Like that. Yeah, it is a lot to see.
Yeah.
Was there anything else you wanted?
No. I will tell you, I got 2 other books we didn't mention. I'll have just quickly. I wrote 2 books called Shadow Merchant and Merchant of Justice. In fact, that is Casey's MRI of her brain. Oh God! I had her permission.
Okay.
This is about. I'm a radiologist in real life. This is about a radiologist who ends up in the field of forensic radiology to help solve crimes. Okay. So these are like murder mysteries, and I'm working on the 3rd book in the series now, and it's about a forensic radiologist who ends up working with the medical examiner's office, and it kind of gives you a background idea of what it's like in the world of medicine. I say a lot of stuff in here. I had to set this book in a mythical city called Tulaco, which is sort of like between Monroe and Shreveport, because the doctors I talk about in here are real doctors. So I had to change the name, change the hospital names, or they would all come out to me and be angry that I wrote about their stories. But there's a lot of really cool stories that I've experienced in my career as a doctor, and I use a lot of those stories in here. And it's in the setting of a murder mystery. The first book, the doctor, Dr. Jack Merchant is his name, was actually accused of murdering his wife. So he has to clear his name. And he does. And then in the second book, he ends up on a jury. And now he's working with the medical examiner's office. But he begins to piece together some pieces of an old murder that may be related to the jury that he's on. And so he has to figure out if this guy that they're trying on the jury may be a murderer from another case he was involved in. Okay. And so he ends up on the jury. So anyway, those 2 books are fun if you like medical mysteries or murder mysteries. So
so as you can see, he got a little bit of everything.
I'm all over the place. So
it's a different genres to pick from.
That's right. And I'll have all these books at Geek Con. You can come take a look at them. I'll have print books, and I will also have coupons where you can purchase an ebook, which will go on anything, Kindle or anything. I use a program called Book Funnel, which lets you sell your ebooks online, and you can put them on any of your readers. You don't have to worry about going through Amazon or Apple Books, I can get you the ebook for a lot cheaper. So.
Okay. All right. But like I say, yeah, definitely. So, like I said before, definitely check all this out when you come see Geek Con. He'll also be sharing the booth with another author. Probably find out when you get there. It's gonna be there'll be even more books to get. So, yeah, definitely come out that way.
Look forward to seeing you.
And as I say, I guess if nothing else said, definitely make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and also and definitely share. Yeah, like I say, emphasis on the share, friends, family, and everybody you know, so we can get the views up and everything. And also, definitely get our available books as well, just like he is there, and support the channel on Patreon. We can do more meet even meet more people like him on here too, and definitely support the Miracle Crew. Let's say yours truly, King Gabe, Quintina, Big Sis Casey, which also supports him, Jen, aka Chris Godfrey, Janara Nellens, and of course the one EJ Tupac. And until we get the live streams back up and running, be sure to hang out with us in the Discord, Facebook, and let's stuff on the McCary app. And without further ado, we'll see y'all in the next video. Y'all take care, everybody.
Bye.